Welcome, folks. Thank you for joining this evening. We're going to get started in a few minutes. I'll call the meeting to order when we have a few more folks, but really appreciate people's availability. Hopefully tonight can be relatively short. We're going to give you some homework, but we're going to still follow the agenda. So we had let's see. Promote a few people.
Sorry, Pancho, just a quick note to Mahone. Mahone, I know you're here from the Indian Center. So yeah, go ahead, accept the promotion. Thank you.
All right. So welcome, fellow members of the Reimagining Public Safety Community Advisory Committee. My name is Poncho Guevara. I am a member of the committee representing Sacred Heart Community Service, and it is 6:33 p.m. and I'm calling this meeting to order. To get started, to remind folks, if people need translation, if you wouldn't mind hitting the interpretation button that's on the bottom of your Zoom screen. I'm going to actually start sharing my screen. We're going to pretty efficiently go through, hopefully we can go through the agenda for today. But before we get started, I want to reinforce with folks like the purpose of the Reimagining Public Safety Community Advisory Committee. We're here to engage in a community-led process that we believe can lead to meaningful recommendations for reform and alternatives to policing in our community. If you need, si necesita de traducción, se puede imprimir el globito que está abajo, y si hay dificultades, puedes llamar a Lori Valdez a 408-661-1804. If you're nominated to serve on this committee by an organization, you should receive an invitation to be a panelist. If you sign in with the email that was sent to you, it should set automatically. But if for some reason you're not automatically set up as a panelist and were nominated, you will be promoted. Please pay attention to your screen. To accept a promotion to panelist, as it requires you to accept the promotion. So again, a couple things around accessibility. If you have any other suggestions on how to make this meeting more accessible, please email Chris Logan at christopherl@sacredheartcs.org. And just wanted to remind folks that land acknowledgement is really important as we make these important public policy decisions or recommendations. We respectfully acknowledge that we host this meeting on the lands of the Muwekma Ohlone people who have stewarded this land through the generations. We commit ourselves to partner with our Indigenous sisters and brothers to celebrate and honor their legacy, as our collective work for justice and our care for these lands will benefit from today. So we have not established a lived experience testimony set one for this evening. It was part of the agenda. So I'm going to move on to any ideas or concepts or anyone from the public that would like to address on anything that's on the agenda for this evening. Seeing none, we're going to go right into the conversation about our action items. So we actually have the same agenda as we had last week. And that was done because we felt like we had to publicly notice it before the meeting began, but we are going to, this evening, we are going to discuss a little bit about some next steps for the process. And we have, thank you for folks that were able to stay a little bit late last time because we were to get through all of our recommendations. In your email, you should have received a draft of a Reimagining Public Safety Community Advisory Committee report. So this is draft version 1.0. And so what this is trying to do is try to encapsulate and try to put some context, a little bit of brief introduction and context for the sets of recommendations that we actually put forward. And so what I'm going to do here is you've been sent this set of proposals that we had done. This is again in a draft format, and you should have access to not only the draft report in a PDF format, but also access to the document that we're working off of. So if you'd like to make comments, suggestions, potential edits, we invite you to actually take a look at this. I'm not going to go through the process of reading it to you out loud, unless anyone would like to stick around. Some people have said I have quite the nice voice, but that's not me. But we'd love to be able to get some of your input in terms of the final document. I see, Larry, you have your hand raised. I'll come back to you in just a minute. But essentially what we attempt to do here is to try to put a little bit of context about where we got here, why we're actually involved in this effort, some context around the nature of the proposals that we're looking at, because they're broken into several different sections, but the conversation around reform and accountability, and alternative safety responses, and systems that could make us safer in the first place in terms of addressing circumstances and support for families that are impacted by these processes. And just instead of having very extensive write-ups, and apologize for any typos or other things that we're able to see in it. This just provides a little bit of introduction to these particular sections, and then we will include in the body of the report all of the proposals that have actually been developed and vetted. I know there are a couple of them that have been that there was some work being done to try to combine them, at least a couple of them that we want to make sure that they're completed. So they should all be right now. The current version should all be available and accessible on the spreadsheet, like all the different proposals that are there. The hope is to be able to combine all these sections. These include what you see on your screen right now. These are all the recommendations that were passed last week by this committee. And we just want to make sure that we're getting the right narrative to try to package and discuss and summarize what we're doing. There's more information that can be done, but this is the basic draft of it. We will also be, after the fact, after we complete this, being able to do without making any editorial changes, being able to present it in a more graphically appealing format, including perhaps some other quotes and other things that kind of summarize what we do. So what you have in front of you, again, essentially is a set of like the recommendation, an introductory section, introductions to each of the different recommendation sections, and they are in 7 sections now, a little bit different than last week, because we combined enforcement priorities recommendations and the recommendation to other bodies into one section, because that they actually do fall in those particular areas. And one note that I wanted to make that happened is that there was last week, when in one of those sections, as they were presented last week, it wasn't voted on in terms of the section, but it was voted on as part of that, was ACC 15 around the city says they will change SJPD body-worn camera policy to reverse the criminal preponderance of guilt, considering guilty until proven innocent any officers found failing to properly turn on a body-worn camera, resulting in a critical incident. That language was actually previously in a different section, in the section around transparency, and it got moved over to this area following the discussion of ACC 14. So hopefully that makes sense to folks at the direction of, or at the encouragement of Peter Hamilton. We've also, not in this version, but in the PDF version that you got, we've added different sub bullets. So like ACC 0.1, ACC, ACC 14.1, ACC 14.2. So it might make it easier to refer back to those documents and the recommendations that are made there. So that's the current status right now of the report. I know I'd love to get people's input on the document. We'd love to be able to share it also with members of the public. We could be able to get that to Mr. Beekman and some others. But I just want to show that that's what's happening. We're going to, I think we'd love to get people's edits and comments so that we're able to bring a final document for ratification next week. I know it's kind of a quick turnaround to actually, for people to kind of read and provide, comments or edits to the Google draft document by this Friday at 4:00 when we'll be having our last steering committee meeting of RIPS. I don't know, anything else? Any other questions or thoughts? Anything that I missed, Chris?
I think you got everything. Whoops. Yep, I think you got everything.
Great. How about any other members of the steering committee wanted to provide some input, like or feedback in terms of what we had discussed in terms of next steps, for the process?
Sorry, this is Chad, and I'm multitasking as usual. But first of all, thank you for all the work that you've done to put this together. That's one comment. And then two, do we have a date yet, like that we think that we would need to be present at council? And do we think it's going to be like one big long session, or is it going to be like broken up, that kind of stuff, so we can mobilize properly?
Great point, Chad. Thank you for that. It looks like if we're able to complete this process of actually finalizing the report next week, the city council or the city manager's office will be able to package this, and we would be slated to actually present to council on Tuesday night, May 10th. And so it will be heard. Not only will we be making a presentation, the youth council, will be making their presentation like they did to us. And then it looks like the charter recommendations dealing with public safety will also be heard on that same evening. So I think that's the plan right now, unless I got anything wrong. Peter, please correct.
Yes, that's correct. It's we've reserved May 10th to bring it all forward.
Evening session, correct?
Correct, yes.
So not before 6 or whatever. Hopefully that means that that's where we're going to go. All right. Any other members of the committee want to provide input or feedback or questions about what are next steps? All right. Seeing none, I'm going to...
I had one...
Go ahead, Rob. Yep.
Sorry, something actually that Poncho had emphasized earlier in today was if like a piece of Lyft testimony or someone with Lyft experience who said something during the meeting stuck out to you, it'd be great to send it either to Poncho, you can send it to me, Chris, pretty much anyone on the steering committee, because that is something I think we're trying to add into the report right now. We have a lot of data and a lot of logic, but what we need is the emotional aspect.
That's a really good point. And I think one of the things that we may want to do is, and maybe we should, I don't know, can we make any changes to the agenda for next week, Peter? Or is that set?
Yeah, I had it posted this afternoon. What change were you thinking of?
Just if we wanted to be able to allow, like, basically recommend appointing an ad hoc committee to help prepare for the presentation, is that something that we can just independently do? Because we'll be done as a committee next week, but in terms of the next steps, in terms of how are we going to prepare the presentation or approval of that, or can that be part of what we as part of the motion next week to approve the document? Can we include part of a motion to say that we hereby appoint, these volunteers to actually help prepare for the
I think if you don't intend to continue to meet after next week, I don't think from a Brown Act perspective you need to appoint anyone because the work will be done.
Okay.
If you'd like to, I mean, it may be possible to send in an amended agenda. So if it's something you'd like to do, just send me language and I can check. But if it's, I think if the committee is ending, I think you're probably fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So before we move on, I want to, any other members of the committee have any feedback or questions about next steps with this process? All right, I'm going to open it up to the public for public feedback on, this is on, I think technically we're discussing, items 4 through 11 of the agenda, which are the action items to help ratify these recommendations. Mr. Beekman.
Hi, thanks for the meeting. Webb Beekman here. I just had a quick question. Your body camera issues, you're talking here dealing with police procedures, turning on the body cameras, stuff like that. Does items 4 through 11 here also include how people can be allowed to view body camera footage for their own criminal cases? And the other question you guys have been talking about at council lately, does 4 through 11 allow for the ideas of so the future of the body camera process is a more honest process. Is that all part of this measure right now?
Yoma, you want to take that one?
Yes. The recommendation or undergoing sort of proposal that was written has been strengthened and I think will be included in the report as appendix. It's been updated to clarify what is a departure from the SJPD duty manual, what is an agreement with the duty manual, and what in the duty manual conflicts with itself or with existing state law. So under Senate Bill 1421, a lot of the access to the body cam footage is permitted, but the duty manual currently has restrictions on that access. So that is a contradiction that it highlights. And along with that, it sort of expands the recommendation to the permitting of the viewing of this footage to be a variety of classes and people, sort of pursuant to what we've heard from the disability community and various communities who have an interest in maybe having legal representatives or other representatives advocate for the viewing of that. So to the short answer, yes, that is included, but it is sort of a part of the larger proposal that has formed these summary. These are just a summary of this larger proposal.
It sounds really good. Thank you for your words. It sounds great. Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to address the proposals? Recommendations for reform. All right, seeing none, I'm going to move on to item 12 on our agenda, which is steering committee report. Again, we will be having our final steering committee meeting, ad hoc steering committee on this Friday, so at 4 p.m. So if you have any members of the committee would like to make changes or adjustments or recommendations, edits, please comment on the draft that's been the link that has been sent to you, or you can, if you prefer, to send an email to Chris or myself. Please do so. I want to try to make sure that those are all incorporated before we bring something back to you next week. And then I think that's it. I think we've got an agenda set for next week for the ratification of the report. Any other members of the steering committee would like to give a report out? All right, seeing none, we are on open forum. So this is where any member of the public or the committee would like to address something that was not on the agenda today can have this, but we cannot take action on this item.
Okay, Blair. Yeah, go ahead, Blair.
Yeah, I may fade out here. My Zoom, I'm on a part. It's about to go through a tunnel. Just thanks a lot for your guys' work. I hope you can stay on longer. The ad hoc will want to continue into the summer, hopefully. A few other thoughts. Good luck on accountability with technology stuff, how that can be included, and can really address the Vision Zero issues that we really have to be strong about and uphold some good ideals for a good process all around for everyone. So thanks a lot for all your work and efforts, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beekman. Any other members of the public would like to address the committee? All right. Seeing none, could I get a motion to adjourn?
Hey, this is Sandra.
Meeting.
Oh, good, Rob.
Sorry.
All right. Thank you. We'll consider that a tie. All right. Thank you, folks. The meeting is adjourned at 6:53 p.m. We will see you next week, or we'll hopefully wrap this up. Take care. Be well.
Bye, everyone.